Hello and welcome to the Dréimire project, where we are interviewing past members of Kildare Youth Theatre who have either graduated from training degrees in acting or are, as Elliot is currently, in third year there. So this is Elliot Nolan. I'm delighted that he can join us and can talk a bit about his experience. He is in third year of a BA in classical acting, is that right? Classical acting in LAMDA. Professional act, the BA in professional acting in LAMDA. And Elliot, LAMDA is the London Academy
of Music and Dramatic Art.
of Music and Dramatic Art. And it is perhaps the oldest acting college in the world, is it?
I believe so. Yeah. I think it's down as the oldest. I mean, it's from, I think it's 100 late. Was it late 1800s? I think, or something like that.
Yeah.
This first.
And Elliot was a member of our youth theatre for quite a long time, performed Macbeth, loved Shakespeare, and did a lot of Shakespeare productions in King Lear as well, and in several Connections plays and in contemporary plays, in smaller scenes from Beckett and so on. And we prepared together for the auditions, and you auditioned a few places in your first year, although you weren't in Leaving Cert that year. You were in fifth year, I think, were you? Yeah. And you got,
I went. Yeah, I did. I auditioned in fifth year. I auditioned for. I mean, actually, I auditioned for one in fifth year. I auditioned for Central.
Central, that's right. And got a call back. And then here, when you were in Leaving Cert, you auditioned to here and a few other places as well, and were quite successful. So you chose LAMDA. So tell us, what is it about LAMDA? What do they offer in LAMDA? What that's maybe different, or what's the training about there, say, compared to Guildhall or wherever else that there is?
Yeah. Well, just to go on the idea of when I auditioned and stuff. I found that LAMDA for me, because I was going to all the other schools and stuff like that, auditioning at the same time, and LAMDA, there was just something about, there was an atmosphere in it that I thought was really welcoming. I mean, it's a big school big in comparison to some of the other drama schools, in the sense of there's 30 students per year, so the community is quite big, and there's 5 different acting courses. I think there's the foundation, the BA, 2 different master's courses. There's a master in fine arts, and then there's a master's master of art. Yeah.
Of those 30 students in the first year, they're spread across all those courses, are they? How many would be doing the professional acting degree?
30. There's 30. So there's 30 in each year. Apart from, there's an American course, the international student course, which has 40 plus students, but the kind of main courses each year has 30 students. So, and within that, you get a huge breadth of people from all over the globe, all over the several different amounts of backgrounds, and so I thought that was one thing that I felt really drew me to it. Was the was particularly the feeling in it, and obviously what the course provided, I thought, for me, was something that really pulled me towards it, in the sense of it covers everything. The first thing I remember they mentioned when we went in this, we had the induction week, everybody was absolutely terrified when we met the 5 pillars, the 5 heads of department, and it's kind of like the feeling was that it was like, here, we're going to give you a toolbox, and this is, and take from it what you will. So any amount of different techniques, with acting courses alone, but then in movement department there was Laban backgrounds, it was Lecoq backgrounds, so it felt like that was something for me, instead of having a specificity of what I wanted to train, because I didn't really have that knowledge before I auditioned. So it was nice to hear that I was going to get a huge amount of things to choose from.
What were those 5 pillars? What were those 5 departments?
So acting, movement, music and singing, screen and audio, and voice.
Okay. And within each of those, you say there were several techniques and approaches shown.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're still doing that, I presume. Are you in third year, or?
We're not anymore. It's a full 2 years of everything being thrown at you. And then once you get to the third year, it's kind of like what I'm trying to think of is just like application, using what you've learned for the first 2 years. We don't, there's some other schools that do, like Rad, I know, for example, does a bridge project at the end of the second year, which is the first public showing, but we don't do that. So your first public showing is in third year, and you kind of start from there, and then it's all the way through. It's just performances.
Great. And can you think of what kind of things did you encounter during the first 2 years? What was a typical day? I mean, what kind of approaches did you discover?
Yeah, well, the typical day, which I know definitely now has since changed. There's been a slight amendment to the timetable. We used to do 10 to 9 o'clock days, Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, with a half day on a Wednesday. But now it's 10 to 5:30, 5 days a week. So they've just kind of leveled it out a bit more, instead of having crazy days on a Monday and a Tuesday, and then having 2 classes on a Wednesday. But yeah, within the day itself, it's still quite similar, in the sense of you have an hour and a half class, and that day could be, depending on the day, you'd start with maybe a movement class, and then for an hour and a half, and then you go into an acting class, and then you have lunch, and then you go into maybe a singing class, or I don't know, a voice class, for example. But there was never one day where you kind of just stuck all the way through with, say, you had 6 classes of acting, because that would drive you mental, if I'm honest.
Did you use text as well all the way through, making scenes, or did you devise a lot? Or?
It was very structured, in the sense of, so the first, like, for example, in the first term, you'd just be given stuff, simple scenes, maybe from your course leader, or and a lot of it was exercise based. So we did a lot of the Uta Hagen exercises, which are like explorations in character, and explorations in what makes up a piece, or what makes up a scene, for example. And then when you got into the second term, that's when they gave you specific things, specific pieces of text. So you start with a modern scene, and it might be you and one other person, and it's the first time you get to share an actual piece with your year, and only your year. And then it continues on from there. Essentially, it kind of escalates from there.
Yeah, escalates in terms of the amount of people who come to see your show.
Yeah, and more demanding style. So modern scenes is quite an easy. Well, they feel it's an approachable thing to do. Obviously, it's the way we speak nowadays. And then so we did modern scenes, and then you went into modern style, which was so kind of early 20th century work, like Noel Coward, Terence Rattigan, that kind of thing, which had a bit more character to it, character-based work. And then we went into Jacobean. So the demand gets more and more kind of each time. Jacobean text, obviously, it's in verse, or it's in just after the period of Shakespeare. So and then you did a Greek project. So it's pretty much from the Greek project, then it's kind of chronological, and then it just builds up to where I sort of am now.
So cool. In your third year, which is where you are now, you've done a Shakespeare, have you? Yeah.
I did actually. So they changed it again a little bit. Normally they do 2 Shakespeares, but they've just gone with classical repertoire this year. So one half of my year did a Shakespeare, but I did the Women at Troy. So we did a Greek course project, online, recorded. So it was a weird one, to record a classical piece. I mean, to record a contemporary piece is one thing, but to kind of film a classical was interesting. It was good. It was good.
And I suppose we should point out that we are recording this in February in 2021. So we're in the middle of lockdown, both in London and in England and in Ireland. So people viewing this mightn't be seeing it till next year. So presumably and hopefully will be different then, that you have real classes, real audiences, real shows, all of that.
Yeah.
So there are 30 people taken in, and approximately, would you say 5,000 or 6,000 audition, or fewer?
Yeah, it's in the range of kind of 4. I think it was 4 to 4.5 to 5.5. I think it was in that bracket, I think.
from all over the world.
Everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. And is there then a typical, would you say there's a typical sort of Lambda acting student? If you look at the various groups from the various years, is it possible to say, oh yeah, this is a Lambda student, that one's a Central student, or
I I don't. It's a funny question. I think because um it's different even within the even within our, say, our course. The 3 years that are here right now are all completely different, and I think so there's not necessarily I don't think there's a defining trait perhaps, but it's I remember being told by the head of our course one year, one of the teachers he's now left, but he was kind of in charge of a lot of the audition process, was that they're trying to find they try and find a person that will fit within the grander scheme of the ensemble. Like ensemble is a huge part of Lambda, and it's kind of the core of the teaching, I suppose. And they want to find you. It doesn't necessarily mean they have to be the same, the same ilk of or same work, um, same process as another person in the year. But if you fit and you can work and you can gel within that year, that's the basis of why they'll pick you. Because I mean, our year have been quite different to the year that have just gone, and the year below us as well. But yeah, ensemble is a huge part of it.
so do you think that maybe being in an ensemble is an advantage already? If you're in a youth theatre or an ensemble, is it that you mean, that people would have the skills of collaboration, give and take, understanding and supporting each other,
Yeah,
inventing, or do you mean that the school is selecting 15 people and 15 people based on to create a new ensemble? So they're looking for tall people, short people, motivators, reflectors. You know what I mean?
yeah. But I think it's more. I think it probably pertains more to the first one, in the sense of it's they they want to. I mean, there's people obviously who will work individually, but there's a huge kind of onus on being having that ability to be able to work within a group, because I mean we spend 40 plus hours a week together,
Mm.
and we're spending with the same amount of people for a full term, and you're working on the same projects with these people, so it's kind of vital um, to be able to be a team player in that. And also because some projects will demand, some people will have a huge massive part and some won't, but the effort has to still come from the same place,
Yeah,
and the dedication to be able to make it has to come from the same place.
that's
um,
good. So that's really good. So maybe also, if you're auditioning, you need to, the kind of person who will get in here, maybe get into other places, is someone who's dedicated to the whole business of acting and working collaboratively.
yeah,
Not somebody who just comes along and does an occasional hour here and there, but
yeah,
who, who
yeah,
wants to be an actor. Yeah.
yeah, because but life in drama school sort of demands that as well. You have to be like I have to cook on a Sunday and make sure I have dinner for Monday and Tuesday, because I know I'm going to be in there all day, and I have to make sure everything is in order so I can just be there. Do you know what I mean? I'm not thinking about, oh God, I have to run to Tesco. Do you know what I
Well,
mean?
let me just move on to that actually, because that is a question that I've asked people as well. How do you support yourself, both financially and emotionally? Being a student from Ireland, living in London, what kind of things could people be expected to look out for or be prepared for?
Yeah, like from my place personally, I for my course, I take a loan, a tuition fee loan, and I've taken that for the last 3 years.
That's student finance.
Yeah, student finance. Yeah,
Yeah, which hopefully everybody will be aiming to do for the
yeah,
fees, because that's still applicable to Irish students. They can still apply for that
yeah,
and avail of it. Yeah.
yeah. And then my day-to-day life, I'm funded by my family.
Mm.
I'm
Yeah.
obviously I'm very happy and lucky in that sense.
And do many of
Um,
your student friends have jobs? Do they have time for jobs or anything like that, or are there funds or scholarships that people can get?
there is, yeah, there is. There's So I know there's a few people, like, I mean, the breadth of kind of that in our year is massive. Like there's a student in our year, and they have a full scholarship, tuition and actually accommodation. So there's avenues out there.
How did they get that? Or is it only after first year or in second year?
No, from first year. It's about I think they were in communication obviously throughout. It's an international student. They're an international student, and so I mean the fees for an international student are astronomical. But yeah, it was in contact. It was keeping in contact with we have a really good. There's a really great admissions team. And it's been in contact with them and the finance, and so there's definitely there's scholarships, and there's emergency funding and stuff like that within the school itself. But there's a few people in my year that have got, I can't remember the name of it specifically, but there is bursaries and private sponsors essentially, and I think there's maybe 3-4 in my year who have got it now. I got confused because I thought it was only applied for UK students, but I found out that the year, so 2 years above me, there was an Irish guy, and he availed of it as well. He could avail of it as well. So there's private sponsorship as well.
Cool.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah, excellent. That's marvelous. Absolutely. So the admissions team are the people to keep in contact with, really, if you get accepted, if you get offered your place. Wonderful. Okay. So do you remember back to when you auditioned, which is 2 years ago? No, is it 2 years, 3, maybe 2 years ago?
Probably.
Yeah. What that was, what it was like, what you think you brought in to the audition, you know?
Well, I suppose for me, trying to think back on it, because even the audition, obviously, well, now the auditions, particularly this year, obviously are self tapes, which is a different challenge within itself, I think. But the audition process changed actually the year after I auditioned slightly, not massively, but I remember going back, trying to think back on what I did. I had one Shakespeare, one contemporary, and I think I felt very good about my Shakespeare, and I didn't feel quite good about my contemporary. So I did that, and I worked my Shakespeare and worked my contemporary again, and they redirected, and and then I got a final round. Then there's a workshop, and then obviously you get in, and then you audition again. But I think the huge thing that I found probably watching over, particularly over the audition process, I think as well, is the openness. They've brought in this workshop part anyway, in live auditions, to, I think, really it's about to really to see the person. I think it ties back to that ensemble idea. I think it's really looking for a person, as well as the ability to be able to, like, the ability to be able to, deliver speeches and whatnot. And I think there's a lot of, they throw redirections at people, and it's about, I think, trying to move away from seeing if you can adapt it. Like, I mean, the direction might be crazy, and I'd not fit the monologue, but it's about, I think, trying to be able to be as flexible and open, and being able to adapt to direction as well as you can, and that you're not stuck to the learnt way of doing it, because I think that's a huge thing in auditions that you get to see over a period of time. Like, I mean, I don't get to see the speeches when I work them, but I think there's something about people come in and do a fabulous speech, and can't move away from the way they've learned it. I think it's about being flexible and being open and being able to play and have fun in it. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that would be if you get a recall and you're into the second stage. Is that right?
Yeah, but I think there's definitely in the first rounds nowadays. There's more of that. They've moved away from, I think, when I auditioned, was the kind of come in, do your speech, get out kind of thing. Not in a, it sounds very crass and very negative, but like, it was quite, come in, do your 2 speeches, have a little chat, and then go and do an interview separate.
Yeah.
But I think now, because the audition day is far more open, that you have a workshop, a half-an-hour workshop, a few games, seeing if you're receptive to play, and then you do your speech. But I think
to see if you're susceptible to play, is that what you said?
Susceptible. That was very weird.
Is that what
Yeah,
you said?
yeah, being open to playing, I think.
Yeah, that open the no, that's good. That's very good that you're willing to experiment and play. Play as in experiment and play as in have
Yeah,
fun. Try out and make mistakes, I guess. Yeah, yeah, great, excellent. And risk the unknown, isn't that
yeah,
also
yeah,
what's involved?
yeah. I mean, it's. I mean, we can't be around the bush. Auditions are they're scary parts. Like, do you know what I mean? They're scary things to do. They're not. You're very open. You know what I mean? And obviously, you haven't got into a school yet, so it's quite a.
Mm. Okay. So tell me, you're in third year now, so let's talk a little bit about the third year process and what happens and what's
Mm.
expected. Let's talk agents and various aspects of like that and performances and meetings and getting you ready for the world. What does Lambda do in relation to all of that?
Yeah. So the initial thing that they do, which is huge about, we do have it is the one timetabled class per se of that we have a week. So we have a class called professional prep, or yes, professional prep it's called, and we have an industry liaison officer who works in Lambda who communicates with the cast directors and agents and all that kind of stuff, and we each week there's a different class, so it could be on social media, or how you access spotlights the actors database, or equity, joining the trade union, and we get talks sometimes, like equity will come in, or someone from a representative from equity will come in, have a speak to you about it, what is it about, um, and then sometimes it'll be just Q&As um, with casting directors or with agents, or actors as well. We had one last week with an actor, which was really really nice to actually hear. Really get to have a sit down with an actor about like this part of the training, and this part of just about to jump into the industry. Um, and then yeah, with performances and stuff like that, it's about contacting. It's about really they want you to really invest a bit of time, not to scare you or anything like that, but to invest time into looking in at agencies that would interest you, like clientele, or more than the clientele. You don't want to look at like Brad Pitt's agency or whatever. Like, it's more like going into it and looking at the clientele and what work they do, if it's something that you're interested in. Like, if you're specifically interested in TV, maybe you can look at a CV, and if the CV say that they do a lot of TV work, well then this could be an agency for you. And then you email, you say hello, I'm doing a play, and you send an invite, and then they come, and then it's left out there, but it's putting your name out there. And if they want to get back to you, they'll get back to you. And I think that's a huge thing about it, particularly with a big year as well, because a big year, some people, it feels like there might be a lot of people getting a lot of interest at the start of the year, and then there's a few that are like waiting almost to the very end. But I think the whole thing, to use our industry liaison officers quote, it's the idea of marathon, not sprint. Like, I mean, you can't um you can't expect to do your first show and then you're like, okay, you're on the dotted line, that kind of thing. But it's important to not keep that I mean, it's an important part, it's a hugely important part, but it's also not. You want to still keep that aspect of when someone make a piece with people, because that it's a plus plus, that kind of way. If you make a good piece and you're not just there for
Mm.
yourself, well then people are going to see that.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about the showcase performances, I
Yeah,
guess, in
yeah,
third
yeah.
year, aren't you? You want to dedicate yourself to making a good
That's
performance.
the
Yeah, of course, that is how you presumably get an agent as well. If you do that. Um, yeah, super. So it's difficult, of course, now in this time, with COVID as well, the restrictions to attract people to come and see shows and so on. But what about there's a lot of students, aren't there? 30 students to be placed every year, just from one college alone. Never mind all the other colleges that have students. Is there much diversity there? I mean, you and there are two of you who are Irish in your year, both from Kildare.
Yeah.
Is that right? But
Um,
like, what about the young black actors and what women and from other
yeah.
countries? Everybody's very fluent in English, I guess. Very fluent in
Yeah.
English, are they?
Like within our year, nationality wise, it's there's three Irish. There's a girl from Dublin, five Americans and a Canadian, um, three French, and then the rest are spread out throughout the UK. So it's not quite. There's maybe four from four from London. So it's not as London centric as um, maybe some other places are. I don't know, but that's me just being. I don't know. With the there's a gender parity within it. So there's 15 and 15. Um, and but yeah, there's a lot of initiatives going on at the minute, which is a really positive thing within the institution for diversity for students of the global majority, um, and also for LGBTQ plus actors as well. It's something that I think personally, yeah, a lot of drama schools have been seriously needing to work on, and it seems hopefully, I think. I mean, I don't really. The only issue is that I haven't seen the new years really because of the year that we're in within the pandemic and stuff. But I think there's definitely a good push and a good like a real drive towards making sure that more diversity happens with the students of the global majority for sure.
Great. And do you think, finally, then, do you think that your interview, the questions and the chats that you had was important? Because I remember, I think with Lambda, it was with the admissions team that the interviews were, not so much with the actors or the actor trainers.
Yeah,
Maybe.
well, when I auditioned, we actually had two audition or interviews. I had an interview in the first round, which was with the admissions team, and then in the final round, I had an interview with one person. He was from the admissions team, and one of them was a teacher. Um, and the questions I got were like, "Can you cook? Can you clean?" Um, and you felt like it was like the first interview was more like, "What have you been doing?" And of course, I spoke about KYT and all that, and the National Youth Theatre Ensemble, and all that kind of thing. But the second one was like, "Okay, we're almost at that stage. You know, you can do all these things. Now we need to know that you can sustain yourself with training. Can you cook? Can you make sure you're not living in a pigsty, because you need the energy to be able to, because it's physically demanding, like, and also like you go home after a 10 to 9 day and you might have work ready for you have to do for tomorrow, so your day nearly extends till half 10, 11 o'clock. Like, um
A lot of reading and
yeah,
preparation,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. You need the stamina, don't you? You do. You're right. Well, you obviously have it.
yeah. Well, just about anyway. How well
Cool. Have you
covered.
any final tips to for anybody watching this who is thinking about Lambda, who's thinking about acting?
Look, I mean, I've loved my time here. So like, an absolute joy, like, to be here. And I think going into the auditions, there's so much. I guess there's so much. You feel like there's so much stress and pressure because you're sitting there, you're talking to people that are also auditioning, and they're like, "Oh, where else have you been? And what speech or whatever?" Do you know what I mean? But it's just going in, being free, being happy that you're able to be doing it. Do you know what I mean? It's like you're there, be open, enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? Because they want to see that part of you, I think, is a huge thing. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you very much, Elliot Nolan, for all your insight and your wisdom and your advice. And we, no doubt, will see you in lots of things, and look forward to seeing you very soon in your student showcases.
Cheers.
Thanks for doing this.